We'll be getting ready in a couple of minutes. Just waiting for the co-host. All right. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where in the world you are.
Right. Okay.
This is the first episode of many to come, and this is why we're cracking the spectrum. And why we're cracking the spectrum is there's so many stories out there. There's so much in the news about
I'm in. I see the on air clock,
we
but I
are
don't know what to do next.
just we'll talk, have a conversation. And so we exist solely for the reason that we're going to be real. Autism is often talked about, but rarely ever talked about with honesty. There's so many myths, there's so many truths, but they're only half truths. So we are flipping the script. We're not going to sugarcoat it. We're not here to shame parents or label kids. We're here to crack things open, research current events and what life is like. Not only for families and what they go through, but for people who actually live on the spectrum. So, I want to welcome. My name is Mary Stanley, and I'm one of the hosts. I'm an autistic mom with two autistic children. I'm also a neurodiversity specialist who is all about unmasking the truth and being living beyond labels and helping families thrive. I'm also a 15-year veteran of the US Army. And my co-host is Rob Ralston, who is a dad to an incredible sarcastic son who is on the spectrum, and a coach who helps families connect and fathers connect and uplift and understand what autism is. Want to go into a little more detail about your background?
Sure. I'm a Yeah. My son is 23 years old, and he's nonverbal, and so my wife
Uh, uh,
and
uh.
no, that's right. He is he is verbal in different ways. He speaks with his talking device. He knows signs. Like when he wants to go for a car ride, he brings me socks. Or he'll bring me the bag of chicken and I say, use your words. And he uses his talking device. We've had several talking devices over our 23 years, and we started off with PECs. So my wife and I have been married for 30 years, and I work for the family plumbing business, and so which has given me lots of benefits that to take care of my son, lots of flexibility, and so we've we've done we did school, and we did special needs first steps, they call it in the U.S. So we did that, and we did special needs preschool and grade school and high school and middle school. And now he's out of school, and he didn't like school toward the end. Toward the end there, he and the teacher weren't getting along, and a school bus went by the other day, and he let out a growl. So in hindsight, I should have, not should have, could have took him out earlier. And now we're doing speech and OT, and we're making good progress.
And he says some words.
He does. He can say da, and he can say no, and so he does say some words. And with me being an older dad, being 60 years old, my hearing's getting worse. And with Mary's good coaching, she pointed out, did you hear him say something? And with my listening, my hearing being bad, and me just um, I feel like I tuned him out, or I'm kind of used to his noises and his stimming, and I didn't recognize that he had actually said something. So we're going forward with that.
So, what to expect from this show? So, we're going to run this show twice a week on Fridays, and what was Wednesdays was the other day?
Yeah, Wednesdays and Fridays we settled on.
All right. Is when we're live, and you can listen to us here. And you can also follow us on the Skylar Network, which is the home for Optimize Our Life Radio, which is the platform that sponsors our show. And what you're going to expect is real conversation about life, about research, about the headlines. We're going to have guest interviews from individuals who are autistic, children and adults, educators, and parents who are fed up. We're
Yep.
also going to dive deep into different conspiracy theories and misunderstood truths. And of course, because, life is hard, especially on the spectrum, but for parents who have to deal with us, it's even harder. So, humor.
hmm Yep. Lots of humor, and that's I tell all the families have a hobby that you could distract yourself with. And mine is life coaching memes, and I have lots of joy with collecting them and seeing them roll by on my screensaver. So you got to have fun.
We're going to be unfiltered. So, there are going to be some perspectives that are going to challenge your thoughts and your beliefs. They might even make you uncomfortable, but also it'll make you grow, think, and also for some individuals, less alone because we're there. We live this world just as much as some of the other parents, and some of us live it even more. We don't have all the answers, and we're not pretending to, but we're going to show up and be real, and we're going to create a space here, but also on the Skylar Network to answer questions, to get you research, and get help wherever you need it. We're not blaming, we're not shaming. We just care deeply and want families to feel seen, supported, and empowered.
Yep, that's the plan. We're creating a safe place to talk about autism and about being a parent of a special needs child and all the things that go into it. We want your success stories and your questions about how to deal with all this stuff.
So, Rob, where do we want to start today? Do we want to start with how our worlds fell apart when our kids were diagnosed, or do you want to start with headlines of some of the stuff that was on the news?
Well, let's start with the headlines because that's what people are could be tuning into. It makes it more prevalent. Let's start off with the headlines.
So, let's start about being the one that I found so offensive. And that was the comment from Kennedy about it being an epidemic. It being that he takes autism and he puts it into a category of every kid is the same way. So because you were diagnosed with autism, you're never going to get a job, you're never going to fall in love, you're never going to do, it's the never list. I got this list when with my son when he was diagnosed. And I got attitude issues, and anyone who follows me on my radio shows knows this. I didn't take that very well.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and my thought on it is that in the long run, he's trying to help, and he's looking at it as an epidemic, and talking about instead he doesn't understand what's going on with the autism, that it can be a gift. He's thinking about the low functioning, the epidemic. He's thinking low functioning. He doesn't understand that it's a spectrum where you have people uh, like Elon Musk and
Me?
Steve Jobs and Mary, who are on the spectrum and are very high functioning, and it's a gift. And if Mary could, so Mary, if you could go back in time and change this, if there was a drug to remove your autism, would you take it?
No.
Yeah, and
I I lived
that's
a
what.
lonely childhood, I'll admit that one. I
Yeah.
always struggled, and I didn't get diagnosed till a couple years ago.
Hmm.
And the only reason I got diagnosed was I watched my kids and how
Yeah.
they did things. And I started seeing, okay, that's how I was when I was a kid. This is how I saw things as I was and I struggled in school. I struggle in social environments. I don't do small, and Rob, you know this as well as being around me. I
Hmm.
don't do small talk well.
Yeah. Yeah. And right, and that's something that you figured out where your niche is. Your niche is helping the families and doing all the small talk. That's what I'm good at. I love to talk. So that's why we're a good team, because that's what I like to do, and that's what you struggle to do, or what you figured out how to do in this environment with the radio show and having co-hosts and people on your show, your friends, and you allow them to you encourage them to tell their stories, and and that's what's great. So I think that's what Kennedy doesn't get, and he's trying to help. His heart's in the right place, and so it's a with Kennedy, it's what he's trying to do is a package deal. I don't agree with all his things that his philosophy, his political ideas, and I have to look at the big picture, and I choose to do that. And he's shaking things up, and so let's think about this. Let's shed some light on all this stuff, and then that'll be more data to have on the cause of autism, and it'll also break, because what I believe happened was they got into a panic about people won't get their kids vaccinated, and that's going to be a problem, and that was not true. And they also we got into everybody automatically giving all these vaccines, and so I think the cause of autism is three different things, which I hear him and Trump tracking. It's people having babies later in life. It's the having all those vaccines so close together, and then all the food that we're doing. So he's talking about the food, and so and I think that's it's poisoning us. And he's talking about these. He's talking two things. He's talking the um, about the chemicals. There are some dyes and stuff that aren't permitted, and some additives over in Europe. And you can go to Europe and eat all that good stuff and think you're going to gain weight, and you lose weight. So that's good. Now he's trying to tie this in. He could be trying to tie this into autism, and so I want the autism community to let's look at the big picture and take all this data and all this attention that he's giving to it.
The problem is autism is worldwide. It's not just a thing in the US.
Hmm.
And we're looking at, yes, numbers are increasing, but so is the diagnostic levels. And there was a
Yep.
study done in Canada that shows that a lot of people who have speaking issues or the categories that they focus too much on, and they're misdiagnosing them.
Hmm.
One of the big things is the cell phones. The average person gives a cell phone to a kid at a very young age.
Yep.
And in general, kids are not developing that communication in their brains
Hmm.
and going to school, starting kindergarten with a third grade or a 3-year-old speaking level.
Hmm.
And it has nothing to do with autism or anything else. The problem I have with it is that he's looking at it, okay, it's a disease, it needs to be cured.
Hmm.
When it's not, autism is a neurological wiring thing in the brain.
Hmm. Hmm.
You can overcome a lot of the issues of autism with different things. But the more fear we create about it, the more things go. I mean, do we forget about Nazi Germany and
Hmm.
how we created this fear around different people
Yeah.
and how what happened to those people? We were starting to move correctly in the world for autism where people were being included because we were different. And now if we're looking at it again like we're a bad person, where does especially because the guy that's at the head of the studies for autism was giving people treatments for using testosterone, claiming that, it cures them. Or not testosterone, I'm sorry, it was a hormone blocker. So it blocked the testosterone in the body. These medications, and how many medications do they put kids on at a young age to maintain all these issues they have? What effect does that have on the brain?
Yeah. Yep.
You know, let's look
Hmm.
at all these things and look at it as a whole
Right.
and not look at it as, okay, these people are permanently disabled and, you know, they're screwed. Because it's
Yeah.
like basically it feels like, for me, it got me upset because it was like, so what are we, second class citizens again? What is this world for my kids going to mean that they're going to have to hide? You know, how can we preach tolerance when because they have a label, we're not allowed to be tolerant?
Hmm. Yeah. And I
And
think what you said there kind of ties into that the Autism Society of America, that our support group is a subchapter of, they put out something saying, well, we disagree with this for the same reasons that you did, and I uh, dismissed them because they seem to be pushing a lot of. They have a far left uh, feel to them, and so this is good for me that that I can understand what I can relook at what they're saying, because they said in their statement, they said just what you said, Mary. So so this is good, and yeah, we'll see what the because that's what happened. Like Dan, Defeat Autism Now, they went out of business, and a lot of the people with high functioning Asperger's, they were mad at Autism Speaks. And I wish that, and that's a good problem to have, that my son is nonverbal and doesn't understand this stuff. And I'm really glad that that the high functioning individuals can stand up and speak. And I hope that somebody can get to Kennedy and give him this other perspective.
that's it. The big problem with Autism Speaks is that they don't incorporate autism individuals. It is all done before with regular people. It's
Ah,
kind of like looking at it like Black Lives Matter or the NAACP.
right.
The people that blow up the most are white, middle to upper class people.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with the autism world. It's and the big reason why a lot of them, you know, autism that have gone through traditional ABA therapy, why they don't speak out is because they're not allowed to. You are taught from a young age to bury everything. You're supposed to be normal. And the more normal you are, the better. You know, so they're taught to ignore everything. So why do they speak up? They've never been allowed to. Their voices were never heard. When it comes to autism speaks, only a fifth to 1% of their actual budget goes towards family service grants. That's it.
That's bad.
Most of it goes to fundraising and lobbying.
Mm-hmm.
And only 2 people on their board of 29 actually are autistic.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
And their biggest thing is their awareness campaign always portrays adults and children not as full human beings, but as burdens on society and how it needs to be fixed.
Yeah. So
They don't
that's interesting. So were they the same group as Dan, Defeat Autism Now, or they have the same attitude or the same mission?
Their mission is to cure autism
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that we're a burden on society.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I struggle.
Right. And one of the um, one of the people in the group yesterday was talking about the 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 X movies, the well, I'm drawing a blank, the Professor X, or and talking about those movies that were, and that's what the mutant movies that this, and they talked about all this stuff, and so that's what I mean. We are evolving. I mean the this and the autism is for the higher functioning ones, it's a higher form of evolution, and there's a lot of things that there's things that people can do. There's skills that we've just lost, and they're coming back, and that may be what autism looks like.
Well, and the thing is, we've always had autism.
Hmm.
Remember the phrase? You don't hear it so much now, but it was a big phrase back in the day. The idiot savants
Yeah, that's right. Idiot savants.
were actually
Yeah,
talked when you look at the origin. It was talking about autistic individuals because they couldn't speak,
yeah,
but they were just absolutely geniuses.
yeah.
Also, deaf and dumb,
Hmm.
mutes.
Yeah.
When you look at it and you look at research and studies, the kids are the individuals that are forced into ABA therapies or traditional US based ABA therapies that talk about how you have to be a certain way. And you're trained to be a Stepford kid, is what I call it.
Hmm.
I'm not talking about the new ones that are individually based and you're working on based on your child's needs. I'm talking the traditional ABA therapy where you
That's
take a
right.
child, put them in a room, make them sit and obey. I call
Yeah,
it puppy training.
that's
The
right.
kids that
Because that's
had those treatments didn't progress, didn't improve, nothing. You got
right.
mild improvements. The kids
Right.
that were left and allowed to lead a normal life and had extra help are the ones that overcame it. We're not
Right.
talking. And what bugs me the most is countries like Norway have phenomenal programs
Yeah.
that actually have worked with kids, and they've come to a success rate where
Okay.
you can test high on the spectrum
Oh,
as a
wait.
kid, but as you get older and you become a teenager, you won't test on the spectrum anymore.
Yeah.
And it's based on individuality and helping a child grow and who they are. It's understanding how your brain is developing and how your brain works. But we're not consulting other countries. We're literally rampaging the US and scaring the crap out of people in the US.
Yeah.
Because when my kids were diagnosed and I started my journey, that was the first place I looked. And I was willing to move to Norway to, to learn what they were doing and how they were doing it. And that was before COVID. And that's when I found out they actually shut their borders down to special needs parents because they just didn't have the resources to help all the parents that were moving over there to get help for their kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what's coming up for me is that I've been in the low functioning world because my son is, and maybe, and that's, we got to come up with a better term than that. That's like saying nonverbal. That that's my world, and so a lot of these things I've learned a lot tonight because we've talked lots of times, Mary, about this
You know,
stuff. But
let's talk a
and
little bit about your journey because,
yeah,
your journey
yeah,
really
let's
bugs
do
me.
that.
No offense. But, and
Hmm.
I've told you this on, when we talk in person,
Yeah.
that you, when you go through and you talk to your, working with your specialists, that because of where you are, you don't have quite as much help as I
Hmm.
available. Like I don't really either. But, with Josh, they kept telling you how don't talk to him this way, talk to him this way, because he doesn't understand you. Even
Right.
though he's locked in himself in a sense, but he's a very smart kid.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. He's in there, and that's what I have. I have two sets of of therapists. I have old school therapists that don't understand he's in there. I've got three of them really. I've got the Medicaid manager and doctor and this ABA guy, and they're on that phase where they're helping me manage him or figure okay what's his life going to be like, and they've got lots of good stuff, and so I value those lessons that they've given me, and I like hanging with you, Mary, and by speech and OT who are looking okay. What else can we do? How can we move Josh forward? And there's a whole lot of the neurodivergent community people that I've met on Alignable, and they've turned me on to this person and that person, and like Michelle B. Rogers in New Jersey, she's got a program where she's helped all the she has 100% success rate helping the kids with potty training and communications and problem behaviors, and she's not trained ABA. She came up with a way to have her child turn around, and she did just what you did, Mary. She found a way to get her child talking because her child lost speech. So we've been like Josh was born. Uh, we had normal pregnancy. The alpha fetal protein test said he was going to have Down syndrome, but there's a lot of false positives on that, and he was developing normally. And so I've been attributing it to the measles, mumps, rubella shot because he got 3 shots 1 month and 2 shots the next month and went downhill. So a lot of the families of the lower functioning children, I've heard this many times, and so I was politely, this is what I believed. So now but I'm always open to the possibility that that I could be wrong, I could be right, or maybe it's a little bit of both. And I'll find out when I get to heaven. To be the best child advocate for Josh is is to be open to learning all that I can. I've learned. I know the lower functioning side of it because that's my life and that's the people I've been hanging with. And through meeting you, Mary, and hanging and all the, I've met 6 other moms on Alignable. And as I've been rolling out my life coaching business, there's like my working on the resources, my resource page, that there's all these people, they're 90% high functioning. And so that's great. There's lots of, there's a different side of autism. And then there's uh, maybe there's more work for the children like mine. So yeah, and I've been we are transitioning from, we're getting a new doctor. We're going to get the, because we had the lady, the doctor that was prescribing his medication was it was at Norton's Children's Autism Center. So he's aged out of that, but the only other place for me that lives in Indiana is U of L psychiatric, and so so we're going to get a new doctor, and I'm interested in, because we had the catatonia, which I can go into on the next episode, but I'm interested in getting this new take, and then I'll see if this doctor is which side of the camp is he on, or which side of the aisle, or what philosophy do they have, and that'll be interesting.
Uh, and he's making small breakthroughs.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, they're
he is.
huge breakthroughs, but
Right. Yeah, they're huge breakthroughs of that he can that that yeah. I mean, he can, like, I'm trying to think of another one. I'm drawing a blank. They're coming so fast that he can, like with his talking device. Like one happened a couple hours ago is that I put a picture of his 3 balls on his device, and I put a picture of his current, and he saw that, and he said he hit it, and it said balls, and I handed him his toy that was his current toy, and he pushed that away, balls, and I had put up. He had 3 of them. We bought at the store, and I put them up, and so I could have it, in case a fit break, have toy, or that's off the old thing in the 70s. You had the, in case of glass, in case of fire, break glass. That was a fire alarm, and he had this little weight, and you could break the glass. So that maybe uh, young people may not understand that reference. So I have, over the years, if we buy 2 toys at one time and he's interested in one, I put that up, and then when we can't find his toy, I get that out. So he's been a, and the other day, like, it's like Mary was telling me, you can, uh, Mary, you said that he can do stuff. So like the other day, he throws his toy, and then he wants me to find it. And I said, Josh, get out now, show me where you threw it. Well, he got on the other side of the truck and pointed. Okay, well, there it is. You see it now, go get it. And like, it only took one time to show him how to open up the tailgate of the truck, because he watched me do that one time, and now he can do it. And so I'm careful. Like when you have a lower functioning child, we're gonna conduct Chat GPT to find a better term. But what they can do is that if they don't see you do it, then then they don't know that's a possibility. Like with him, the scaffolding. I got a scaffolding in the backyard surrounding one of my projects, but since he's never seen me climb up it, he doesn't know that's possible. And the same way, there was a higher functioning man with autism, and he was in college, and he said, we're not supposed to have beer. So in the middle of the night, I threw it out. And since they didn't see me, my roommates will never know. Well, that's the way his brain works, because since they didn't see him, then they won't know. And that's how the autistic kids work. So with the lower functioning kids, then I'm careful not to let them watch me do stuff. And we're making strides. I can say, um, like the big stride that Mary was talking about. I said, Josh, I got to go back in and get my glasses. And he calmed down, and I left Mary on the phone with him in the truck. I went in, and he understands that. So I've been incorporating that with these milestones. We back out at the end of the driveway. I said, Josh, now we're not going to down the hill to Arby's. We're just going on a ride. And then he understands. I have to explain to him what's going on. And so so we have lots of great progress.
A better phrase would be high support needs.
High support needs. There we go. High support needs. Yeah, because and that's the theme of the show is that we're looking at that we're these children are not broken, so they're high support needs. Yeah, and I think I've heard that. I think I've heard that before, but that's great. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do because I've been in uh, yeah, I've been saying when I get on that'll be a good line when I describe Josh because uh, th- when I talk to people, when I'm networking with people on Alignable that are not other coaches, then I have been using the word low functioning because I wanted to explain what we were up against, and I did get a good reaction out of that. But I can do the same thing with doing uh, high high needs or whatever you just said. So that would
Uh,
be good.
High needs or high support needs.
High needs or high support needs, and that'll convey the same thing, and it will push a more positive message and happy message, and that'll get a better. And I just had a thought that maybe my story is so moving and depressing that the people may not remember. Like I want you to remember me to recommend me, and maybe having a more positive, happy spin on it will help. And that's what I'm doing now. I had my glasses on to see the chat if anybody chopped into the chat, but I pushed them up, and I'm watching my autistic son down here. And a great success was before we got on. At the last minute, I was running around trying to get everything ready, and he wanted chicken, so I got his chicken. But Josh, you're sitting in the chair because you know I'm doing one of these people inside the computer stuff. So this is great.
Well, you've also had other wins that you ask him questions and he answers it. My favorite is the one day when we were talking and you asked him if he could do something, he kept telling you yes.
Yes, that is correct. He kept signing yes, I can do that.
But he didn't do it. And then when you asked him to do it, he looks at you and goes, no.
That's right. That's right. He's being a smartass, and that's what's great about Mary's coaching. And it's what's great about us parents with the high functioning needs is we have to get out of our bubble. We have to hang and just be open and soak up all the good stuff because now that that Mary says that you've been noticing Josh is going to be a smart aleck and like he's done stuff like that, and so I'm noticing that more that he'll be laughing and throwing his toy and like he knows in the grocery store, and that gets into the other. I'll update on the grocery store that's the problem that we have is that when I'm in the grocery store, if I turn my back, then Josh will run off, and he waits for me not to be looking, and so that means he's just waiting for a chance. That it's like in baseball, gonna get to run, and that's what he does. He runs and he'll run. He wants to get another toy, and he wants to or run to get a soft drink, and so and that's the problem. The reality, let's call it that way. The reality of having a child that's outweighs you by 10 pounds and that has that's stronger than you and stronger than grandma and grandpa who used to want to watch him. That's so. What I've done is that when I try to take them to the grocery store, it's a disaster. And what we did the other night, we needed stuff, and I said, okay, I'm up for the challenge. And I did what my wife said. His mom is make him push the basket. So I held on it to him the whole thing, and I said, we're going to go this, and we went in and we got the stuff on the left side of the store, and he was pulling. I said, no, we're going this way. So then when we did get to the toys, then he rips it off, and I can't get it out of his hand. And then he threw it, and it landed on top of the freezer section. And so, and that happens a lot of times. So we can't find it. I have the tag to pay for it. Well, we got up there and we couldn't finish because we couldn't put it in the bag. We didn't have the weight. And I didn't think about skip bagging. We may have had too much of a charge. So I told the lady, I was holding on to Josh, and I said, I don't know what to do. We can get, maybe somebody's got a ladder, they can crawl up and get it. I can go find another one and we can scan it, but that's not going to help. And she said, well, we'll find somebody with a ladder. So that's what they did. They had both maintenance men, and they were up there looking for it, and they found it. And so the solution to that is that I have to get groceries delivered or do the drive over to the store and pick them up. And I think that if I have Josh's, if we uh, go to Wendy's, which is next door to the grocery store, then I can distract him with that, and most of the time, unless we start getting out and walking to go in, then he's not realizing that okay, this is a place where I'm going to get a new toy. So I
Well, have you tried where if talking to him? So we're gonna go grocery shopping, and if you're good, you stay with me. You stay with the cart. You don't throw. You don't do this, this, and this. When we're done, you get your treat.
yeah, I haven't thought of that. Thought of that. I'm a very lenient parent. His mom is very strict, and so that thought never occurred to me. Um, so and it's kind of bad that my he's getting better at it because I've been more firm over these years. I'm on a journey to be more firm over the last 10 years. But like when he sees his mom, then he starts getting upset. She works third shift, and he fusses because he thinks, well, if mom's here, that's going to spoil all the fun.
Yeah.
And so I think that I did tell Josh. I said, now Josh, we're gonna go in, and we're not gonna run off, and we're not gonna do all that. That went in one ear and out the other. I think that he's I think that he knows that like he'll pull me like he wants, like he says I want chicken, and I say no, you're going to bed, and he'll pull me to. He won't take no for an answer, and so, since he's so strong, he'll get the chicken out, and I have so I we are doing better on that. That like we had the he wants to go for a ride every 37 minutes, and I've been getting that. Uh, and I say no, no rides, and what he'll do, he'll just drop it and say okay. So I've got to continue with that with certain things with the grocery store. So
Hey,
that's what I'm
I'm not
doing.
above bribing my kids or negotiating with them,
Hmm.
especially in the grocery store, because
Yep.
I had the same issues with mine.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's hard for me because I get overwhelmed in the grocery store when there's a lot of people in the store. Like today,
Aha.
when we went, and I always, and this is part of where I came up with or why I got my diagnosis, because
Yeah.
I truly believed that it was my anxiety from the military that caused my issues.
Hmm.
Because I'm fine in the store if it's like empty. So I like to go to the
Aha.
grocery store like, early. But
Hmm.
like we went when dad got home from work, I took the kids with,
Hmm.
and is the weekend of Easter. So the store was
Mm.
literally packed, and
Yep.
I have a hard time. I get overwhelmed by everything that's going on in the store. And
Interesting.
then, of course, my son likes to be a little shit.
Yeah.
He's a
And
boy.
he's a boy, and I hear him in the background of doing boy things. And when he, so is he more of a? It's interesting. Is he more in the store, a little shit, or at home? Does the little shitness increase in the store?
It depends. So if I've developed a philosophy where you can only be good for so long before you
Yes.
gotta act up,
Right.
because that's the way I am. I'm an instigator at times,
Amen.
but we can make it through almost the whole store, and he'll become a shit at the very end.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's other days where he will be perfect little angel.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed with him, he reads like the room. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like mom's at her limit. Mom's overwhelmed. So I'm gonna be a little shit more than when mom's calm and cool.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't quite figured that one out yet. So I've
Yeah.
noticed that the more that I'm overwhelmed, the more he decides to just screw around and be a little shit.
Interesting. And that's all part of the autism. It's part of it's. I mean, it's interesting. It may not be part of the autism. It's interesting because both of you have it. So
Mhm.
how are you both interacting, and where is the autism, and where is other things? Where is the
That's where I struggle. How much of him is a little boy and how much of it is autism?
yeah.
Stay with my daughter. She's one of those that's oversensitive, over emotional, cries over everything and
Mm-hmm.
anything. How much of that is her being a girl and how much of it is, her sensory overload. The
Mm.
one benefit does is it makes it easier for me to understand them.
Yeah.
So I have more patience than dad does.
Right.
See, our household is actually the direct opposite of yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because
Mom has the patience of the world,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
except for like last night. So my son, I don't know what he's got the stupid pair of pants that he wears.
Mm-hmm.
And now he washes them in the wash machine, which I'm happy for. But he
Yeah.
ended up with a hole in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 in the morning. He wakes me up, brings me my sewing kit to fix the hole in his pair of pants that he's wearing as he's wearing it. It took me a
Interesting.
half an hour to put the stupid thread through the stupid eye of the needle.
Mm-hmm.
But he sat there patiently while I'm like, oh my God. I didn't even want to fight with him about it. Like, we'll do it in the morning. No, I just caved and let him do it.
Yeah.
I'll fix it. We'll fix it.
Yeah. And that's the good balance of parenting. There are times when you're just going to do it, and times when you're going to be firm and say no. And both things are fine. As you keep an eye on it, you keep the problem out in front of you, where you can look at it and be open to guidance.
I don't know about you, but I think the hardest part of dealing with autism is the screaming or the crying for the meltdowns for hours or the temper tantrums
Yeah.
for hours. And you can't fix it because you don't know what's wrong.
Yeah. Yep. 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 I mean,
'Cause
what's good about Josh is that he'll flip out, but it's only for about 5 minutes. That's what the behavioralist says, because it's very hard on me, and so I try to, like when like I ran in today, the middle of the day, to give him medicine, and then he thinks we're going to go, and so um, yeah, the meltdowns, and there's a difference between a meltdown and a fit. A meltdown is when they've lost control. Uh, a fit
yeah,
is when they just are not getting their way, like when your son is acting up, or he's having uh, a fit, like with Josh, that when he sees a toy, when he gets into the store, and so I could spin that's lost control, and it's not a meltdown. He just knows he's going to get away with it because he knows who's boss, and it's not me. Uh, Well, we're working on that, but and that's one of the things that I coach. I coach I'm the 24-hour coach, and I want moms and dads that when they're having a meltdown in the store, then give me a call. You say all the parents are everybody's looking at me. He's down on the floor. I can't get him up. I'll say, well, get behind him, give him some deep pressure, get ready. He's going to try to whack, and then I'll help them through that, and then the next morning they can call, and after a good night's sleep we'll talk about strategies. So that's what the parents need, whether they're low functioning or whether they're going to be uh, high needs or low needs. When they're young, we're going to have these problems. And the good thing about autism is there's a lot of it, that in the 23 years that Josh has been around, and the 20 years he's had it, everybody goes, oh, I know my cousin has this, or I know somebody at the church, and everybody's very understanding about it. Now, the other issues is that parents are embarrassed, and that's a lot about their past. And so I coach them, I teach them what we've learned through our therapy, and then when it's something from the past, then let's go to your therapist to work that out, and then get that homework and come back to me, and I want to incorporate that homework into the coaching that I give as a parent of a special needs child.
You know, but that's the hardest part, to stick to your guns.
Yeah, it is hard, and I didn't even know I had guns, and I'm working it, and the joy of being able to not be going for a ride every 37 minutes. I mean, he was just pulling me, and I was automatically doing it. So, and I think that may be that what's increased with Josh's strides are, it's also because I've been the adult and the parent. Oh, well, things are different. Well, how are we going to deal with this? Well, let's think about this. Well, maybe we'll do something different. So we're working together on our stuff.
So you realize we've already been on the show for an hour?
I looked at the clock. It's 10:20. It's 10:23 in the U.S. Eastern Time Zone. So yeah, we've done good. Now you started the clock. You may have started a little bit earlier, because it was showing 9 minutes when I got on, and I didn't think I was 9 minutes late.
You weren't. I started a little early. I always start a little early to make sure we don't have technical
Yeah,
difficulties.
yeah. Well, this was good. This was good. That I came downstairs and I got the computer going, and I hope I didn't say bad words until I realized that my speakers were off. But you may
That's
have put.
okay. I
Mhm.
mark it as truth so that if there is bad words, because I let them slip.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this was a great this was a great first show, and we're going to continue to do this. And Josh was very good, and we worked the bugs out, and we want the parents to chime in and get into the chat, and let us help, because our goal is to create a safe place to talk about what's going on, and get the resources. Mary's big on the resources and the training, and I'm very good at creating a safe place to listen, because parents, they don't have somebody that's just going to listen. They have everybody's wants to help, or don't know what to say, and they're trying this and try that, and there's a lot of value in sitting on your hands and not consulting and not mentoring and not helping. Mary's, you've got the mentoring and helping and consulting part, where I'm just the opposite, that my job is to provide a place for you to talk about what's going on. And as you talk about it, as I reflect back, and as I use motivational interviewing, then ideas are going to pop in your head. I'll have an idea, and as I ask questions and you answer back, and you get little pieces and I get little pieces, and that's how coaching works. It's actually like a Rubik's cube, that I've got lots of ideas and you've got lots of things, but the longer we talk, the more we get to a place where the colors are lined up on the side, and you sleep better at night because you know that there's support out there. You know that Mary's got gonna gonna use her army boots to lay out a good plan and ask you why you're not doing it, and then I'll do the same thing in a gentle way. And there's lots of help out there. Mary's got lots of resources. I've got lots of resources. It's going to be great.
So, in the link in the chat is to our
Mhm.
Skylar network for this radio show. When you join it, Rob, I'll add you as an admin. And this
Okay.
place is designed for resources. You find resources, add them in there.
Right.
It's also a place that you can meet the hosts and talk to us on a one-on-one level and ask questions, get answers. You know, if you see or if you have a topic for the show, add it, put it in, send us a message or put it, post it on the show. Our shows are built on based on what you need or you want to know. And so it's all based on requests. So if you got a particular topic you want us to talk about, or if you want to be a guest on the show and talk about it, you know, um, join that link, and we'll more than happy bring you on.
Yep. That's right. That's right. Because we can we're looking for guests. We want to help. We want to help parents that have questions, and we if there's a therapist or somebody that's got an idea or got a program that they want to do, then we want to hear about it. Or we want to. So it's parents and experts and anybody in the special needs community, and we're big into autism, but and the bit different sides of it. There's all kind of there's ADHD, there's mental health issues, there's blindness and deafness, and it's all special needs. I met a mom who her adult son won't take his lithium, and he's on the street. And when they drag him in and give him the lithium, he says, "Oh, thanks, mom," and then he stops taking it again. I said, "Welcome to the special needs community."
Yeah,
Hmm.
and that's the hard part. Medications. That's a good
Yep,
topic for a show too.
yep, yep. Josh is on all sorts of medication that ties into the looping catatonia story, and we'll talk about that later.
And how do you get kids to take not
Yep,
kids, get adults to take their meds when they refuse?
right.
Like
Yep,
my son, I have to grind it up and put it in like his pizza or his drink or something.
yep,
He won't take meds.
yep, yep.
So
And
join us
right.
next Wednesday
Hmm.
at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central,
Hmm.
and we're going to talk more about neurodiversity and what life is like and about medications and different treatment options.
Right. That'll be a great subject for our next episode.
And some of these cures that are out there.
Mm. Yep. Yep. I've heard them all. I've met a lot of them unalignable, and I'd like to try them all and see one at a time to see if I can get some some higher functioning, make some progress. Everything's on the table
Within reason.
within reason. I mean, it's my goal is for Josh. I'm 60 years old. I'm going to live another 40 years. So I've got my goal is to get him caught up as much as I can in the next 45 years, and then whether he'll be coming to me and saying, what's this guardianship? I'm taking you to court. I didn't sign up for this. Or him to uh, is be functioning very well where his basic needs can be met, and he will be a good person to be in the group home. That he'll be happy and easy to work with. And that's what our therapists are doing. They're working on stuff to get Josh to be able to, let's resolve these issues so he can work with a multitude of people, many different settings. And that's good from their philosophy. And so we'll work on that, and we're going to work the other way. And Mary's got her issues with her children, and she's working both sides of the issues also.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And my own issues.
And your own issues, right? And then I'm big on conflict resolutions with parents. I want parents to stay together. So I'll teach what we've learned, they've taught my wife and I, and how we stay on the same page.
And that gets hard, especially when you start looking at alternatives and
Mm-hmm.
figuring out what is the best way to make something work and
Right?
sticking to it. That's the hardest part
It
because
is.
we forget, something starts working, and with autism, you got to keep doing it and
Right.
manually pump it in your brain to keep doing it and not fall complacent.
That's right. That's right.
So we'll see y'all back here Wednesday night. Have a good day. Have a good night. And from Optimize My Life, have a happy, safe Passover or Easter, depending on what faith you are. Can you help me with this? In 1 minute. Please.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to go help my daughter figure out how to use her new squirt gun.
Amen. And I got to go check on what Josh is into.
All
We'll
right.
see you next week.
See you next week. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
I'm sorry. It's okay. Bring it here.